We're playing some Jeopardy this morning, okay? So here we go, all right? Now, all I'm going to do is I need 2 contestants, all right? And one contestant will be a Team 1 captain. The other one will be Team 2 captain. Team 1 captain will represent this entire site. Any volunteers over here? Team 1 captain, anybody? First hand, boom, there you go, all right? I need a Team 2 captain over here. Anybody? Team 2 captain, anybody? First hand, boom, done, deal, all right? Now, let's go ahead and get to know our captains here for a second. Captain Team number 1, what's your name? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name's JC, and by the looks of it, we got a good group over here, so I'm excited to play.
Nice, good, awesome. All right, over here, Team 2, Captain.
My name is Keshi, and I'm looking forward to playing.
All right, Keshi, here we go. So, Keshi, JC, just so you know, you represent your 2 teams. The teams you guys are there to give collective wisdom into this and be a part of the game as well. Now, here we go. This is Jeopardy, and when it comes to Jeopardy, there are some categories, so let's dive into them. To the screen, please. The first category is Days of the Week. All right, sounds like a tough one, all right? Next one, colors that end in purple, all right? Next one, movies that start with star. Sounds interesting to me, all right? After that, morning versus morning. And finally, it's all relative. All right, here we go. Our contestants are ready, 1 and 2. Here we go, Captain. Okay, number 1, you have the board first. What would you like to go with?
All right, I think we're gonna go big. So I want to go 500, and I'm feeling colors that end in purple.
We're going to give you 300. Here we go. Okay, 300. 80s pop star. Prince went with this color in describing the reign of his 6th album. What color is it?
What are we thinking, guys? I think we're going to go with what is purple.
What is purple? That is correct. Great job, all right? You have $300 on the board going in your favor. Great job. Okay, here we go. Captain number 1, you also have the board still. What else do you want?
I think we'll do Days of the Week. 200?
Days of the week for 200. Let's see what it says. All right, here we go. And basically, although it's not a law, this is the day tacos are most often enjoyed. All right, anybody over here, Captain?
What are we feeling? I think we're going to go with what is Tuesday.
What is Tuesday? Thank you for forming your response in the form of a question. I appreciate that. And that is correct. All right, you guys are up to $500. Oh, my goodness. Great job. All right, now, here we go. You still have the board. I'm sorry, Captain number 2. You guys got to wait until they fail. Here we go. Team number 1, go. Which one do you want now?
Let's do movies that start with star for 500.
Movies that start with star for 500. What is that? It's a daily double. Oh, what? Holy cow, a daily double. What does that even mean? It means you get to bet up to $500 on this moment. What would you like to do? How much you want to wager?
Well, we have 500, and I say we wager all of it. Let's do it.
Why not? Let's just go big or go home, right? I enjoy that. That's brave. It's courageous. Here we go. And again, the category is movies that begin with star. And the question or the answer, I'll say, is this. This is the greatest movie saga in the history of all movies. Don't mess this up. What is the saga?
We're definitely going to have to go with what is Star Trek.
No, it's not Star Trek. Everyone knows the answer is Star Wars, okay? That is a given. Everyone knows that. All right, I'm so sorry. Team number 1, you are off the board. Team number 2, you are in this thing. What would you like to go with?
I'm playing safe. It's all relative. Go with 500.
It's all relative for 500. Please, let's see what it is. This father from one of the greatest movies of all time said, "No, I am your father." Name that father.
I need some help. I'm not really good with it. All right, I heard someone in the back say, "Why is Harry Potter?"
Harry Potter? Give me a break. It's not Harry Potter. He's not even a dad in those movies. My goodness, team number 2. Failing. Oh, my goodness. Okay, back to team number 1. You have the board again. So here we go. Captain 1, what would you like to go with? You have the board. Go ahead and pick anything you want up there.
I think we'll do morning versus morning for 500.
Morning versus morning for 500. Let's see what it is. Okay. The word finishes this statement used at the beginning of a new day and often follows the word good. What do you guys think?
I'm going to go off my hunch here, and I think that it's morning.
Ooh, so sorry. It's incorrect. Team number 2?
I mean, it meant to start with a question, so why is morning?
Yeah. What morning? You're going to go with morning. You with morning. It was incorrect. Morning? Correct. Good job. All right. Excellent. Good. And because of time now, okay, we find ourselves, we're both tied, 500, 500. We are at Final Jeopardy, okay? Final Jeopardy, this is a big moment. If you don't know how Final Jeopardy works, I give you a brand new category out of nowhere, okay? And I ask you a brand new answer, basically, you come a question for, and see if you guys can get it right. And you get to wager as much as you want. You both have $500. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and give you, first of all, the category is Pastor Chris's brain, okay? It's good luck in there. It's a noodle, okay? There's a lot of things going on. It's spaghetti, all right? Here we go. And Pastor Chris's brain, here is the answer, how they say in Jeopardy. Come up with the question. So this is the Bible verse I'm thinking of right now. What is it? It could be A, B, C. We're going to go with captain number one. First, go ahead and give us what you think.
Well, we've got a 33% chance of getting this, guys.
You think? Yep.
I think we're going to go with B, Philippians 4:13.
4:13. Is that because you think that's the only scripture verse I can memorize?
Absolutely.
Basically? Okay, all right. It is incorrect. I'm so sorry. How much did you wager?
All of it.
Oh, my goodness. Out. Okay. Are we here? Captain number two, what do you guys think?
All right, this is a mind game, so we gotta try and read him.
Yeah. What do you think?
50-50 chance. I'll say, where is A, John?
Good form of a question. Okay, A, where is A? John 3:16. You also think it's the only scripture verse I know.
100%.
John 3:16 is incorrect. How much did you wager?
Everything.
Everything. You know what? You both wagered everything, and it's incorrect. You guys, you know what you guys need? To attend Financial Peace University, FPU, okay? Dave Ramsey class. It just started today. It's great. It happens during this time period. Next week, just come to first service and then go to 10:30 Dave Ramsey, right down the hallway here, or we'll actually go to the next steps. We'll get you connected to the class, and it's going to help you out, okay? But anyways, right now, please give our two captains a big round of applause for tying. I'm going to give you a book, too. That's what you win right there, okay? It's one of these. That's one of the books we're going through right there. Boom. So here we go. You guys did a great job with the Jeopardy game, and it's a great little slide to end on, because really Matthew 5:4 is where we're going to be going with today's message. Now, Jesus does it again here in Matthew 5:4. What he does, he takes what we think we know about a specific subject and turns it upside down. It's just countercultural to what our world tells us. And so often when it comes to mourning, it's something we want to stay away from. What we think we know about the subject of mourning is that we just don't want to really approach it, because we associate mourning with loss, and there's nothing good that can ever come from losing anything, right? Except LBs, okay? It's good to lose those every once in a while. But when you get down to the real stuff in life, I mean, stuff like relationships, people, loved ones, there's nothing good about that. Nothing good about losing a job, nothing good about losing a dream, nothing good about losing that special someone. There's nothing good about that, right, Chris? Right? But there's something good that comes into our lives when you and I decide to stop and mourn that loss instead of trying to just move on and sweep it under the rug. There's something good that can come when we decide to mourn the point. And here's the big point today. See, we put ourselves in jeopardy when we refuse to mourn the loss in our lives. And I think it happens a little bit too much. And I think it's interesting to me. I think it's an angle that I don't approach too often, because I am the type that kind of wants to move on, that wants to kind of get through it, kind of busy myself, not think about it. I don't want to think till there's negative thoughts. I want to be positive and just keep move forward. And it got me thinking this week, I wonder, so many things I'm struggling with in my life, I wonder if it's connected to me not taking the time to simply mourn the loss that I've experienced in my life, either a long time ago or even recently. I want to introduce you to Landry Fields. He's a professional athlete who, like all of us, is familiar with loss. Here's his story and how loss impacted him.
What I took in terms of faith and ran with was nobody's perfect. I'm going to live how I want. I'm going to try, quote unquote, as hard as I can, and it wasn't very hard. Ultimately, if I mess up, nobody's perfect. God's got me. What more could you want? I have God, and I have me. That was my gospel. I pretty much took that all the way until the beginning of my NBA career. In New York, if you're doing basketball, you can do anything you want in the town. Probably run around naked if you wanted to. It's like that crazy. They're treating you as if you're your own kind of demigod. I had a teammate named Jeremy Lin, and he just kind of took the NBA by storm. Couldn't go to restaurants without being, mugged. We had to go out the back ways through kitchens, and these are like 5-star restaurants. And so that point too, I'm like, oh my goodness, it just took a whole nother league. This is better than being drafted. Like now I'm drafted, established, and doing well. Like what else could happen to me? I just got a new contract with the Toronto Raptors. Getting that contract was like more than a grand slam for me. At this point, I'm like, man, God's on my side. He's got me. This is it. Like I'm in favor with the Lord. I get to my first training camp, and as I'm going up to shoot the ball, out of nowhere, my hand just starts curling, kind of just like this. It curls like that. Every shot is doing the same thing. When I'm trying to catch the ball, my hand is curling right before I catch it. When I'm dribbling, my hand starts to just claw up when I'm dribbling. I'm like, well, this is not good because everything was affected by this. So I had the surgery done. I finally get back on the court and we're working out, and I'm noticing it's still doing the same thing. Another few months pass, it's like it's worse. It's just everything about it is just happening all over again. My mind at this time is just kind of going nuts. You weren't just taking away basketball, you were taking me away. It's what I live for, and it was my identity. I started thinking, and it hit me. I'm like, why would I put all my hope and trust into something that is gonna end anyway? This is kind of sparking that I need to get back into my faith. I need to see what really is going on here with God. Obviously, it wasn't a proper understanding of kind of biblical grace. I didn't understand that truly following Christ was a turning of sin, a turning of my own will, and following him. Now I understand that what I was living by was by cheap grace, not just the saving faith in the grace that's truly there. What I took in terms of faith,
I think there's a connection there. Even when he talked about cheap grace and experiencing real grace, I think we allow ourselves to enter into some sort of cheap grace agreement with God or experience with God when we don't allow ourselves to mourn, when we just try to pretend it's okay, and we don't experience the real thing. Now, what he said grabbed my attention, and I love this. He said, really, why would I put all of my hopes and trust into something that's going to end anyway? And how often do we do that? How often we put all our hopes and trust and stuff, and then we would never describe it this way. We describe it in the terms of things that are important to us, things that are meaningful to us. Relationships, our jobs, just people in general. Maybe, again, some sort of like passion, hobby, and interest or whatever, but these things, we know they're all going to end someday. And when it hits us hard, and we don't know what to do with it because we end up finding so much identity in our stuff, in our connections, in our circles with our people. And we don't have them anymore, it rocks us. I think about my mom and my dad, and I love my mom and my dad, but they entered into retirement right before COVID hit. Not only did they enter into retirement, both of them, they moved out of their work circles that they were with for years. My mom's mother passed away, my grandmother. So these are big moments of loss in someone's life, where they're just going, okay, so what do I do now? And watching them walk through this, it just broke my heart. But it's very human for us to attach ourselves to these things and people because we love them. But if we stop and think about it, that the things that we love so much, they're all going to end someday. There's only one who will never end, and that's God. He keeps going, amen? But yet we think of him as somebody who's going to bless us so that our things that we're attached to now, that he'll just make them better and better and better and better. And that's something that God really absolutely can do, but we also sometimes think that that's all he is there to do. Just give us our stuff. Give us our things that we love so much, make them good. Friends, the point is this, that loss is inevitable. It's going to happen no matter what. And the idea of loss is something that hits us, I think, primarily in stories. We watch a good movie, we read a good book, and we see that character die, and we're just like crushed by it. It's a formula actually in a lot of movies that, Iron Man has to die, for whatever reason. He just has to die, so at the end of the saga, so we all go, oh, man, it's a main character, and he gave his life, and it's such an amazing thing, and why do we connect with that? Because every one of us, online or in the room, I think have an experience with some sort of loss. And now it's not just a movie. Now it's a connection that we made with that movie, with that storyline. Even authors are incredible at this, short story writers too. One incredible author is Ernest Hemingway. Hemingway is an incredible author, and he's written some great stuff, and he's sitting around with his author buddies one day at lunch, and they're talking about the power of story and the power of even incorporating loss into a story. And there was a bet made to Hemingway saying, hey, from his buddies, I bet you cannot write a short story that expresses loss using only 6 words. 6 words. They're like, yeah, there's no way, yeah. Hemingway takes the bet right then and there, grabs a napkin, doodles on it, and comes up with this: for sale, baby shoes, never worn. Silence at the table. 6 words convey so much pain, and so much heartache. So many people can either connect with this short story directly or indirectly. There's power in this, because I think we all experience some sort of loss. But again, with this loss and this subject, Jesus comes face to face with what we think we know about life, and he turns it upside down. We think it's a horrible thing, that nothing good, nothing. But then in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, Jesus lays out these Beatitudes. And we went over the first one last week. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for they will inherit the kingdom. Again, backwards thinking, why would you give the keys of the kingdom to people who are poor in spirit? We talked about what that means. You think that usually it would go to somebody who's got, maybe like rich in spirit or rich in general. That our culture would give influence to those types of people. But Jesus is saying, no. It's something different. He turns it upside down. He does it again here when he said, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. And you go, well, Chris, that sounds great and all, but I'd rather not mourn at all in the first place. But I think when he says this, when he's preaching this from a hillside, near the Sea of Galilee, and again, calling the Sermon on the Mount, he's not talking on some mountaintop. He's on a hillside, talking with some people, trying to encourage them with really what it's all about. Trying to get away from religion, get back to this relationship with God, value and understanding. He's trying to teach people, you and I included now in this moment, as to what really matters. And I think when he says mourn, in this moment, my thought is he's connected with every single person on the hillside, because every single person knows what it's like to mourn. And then, Chris, but it's still confusing to me. I need some more details, more context. I love how the Message paraphrases it and says this: you're blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you. It made me think about this for me in my life. And I hate to confess this. I hate it. But there's just those times in my life where I don't see God until it's that horrible proverbial what, hits the fan. And all of a sudden he comes into focus. And I thought about in my life, if I don't stop to mourn this loss, I'm allowing this thing that I lost to take up the space still. Now it's not a positive thought or a positive connection. It's more of a sad, and it's just living here. And it's sad, and it's hurtful, and I'm filling the space with this horrible negative, just hurt. And I feel like what happens if I mourn, if I actually go, God, I'm hurt right now, I'm angry, I'm sad, that what I do is that I make room for God to fill that space, to come into that space and bring comfort. But if I don't acknowledge it, I'm pushing him away, saying, I don't need you. I got this. My pride steps in after my hurt. Loss is inevitable, but what we gain, what you gain, if you allow yourself to mourn that loss, is incredible. It's incredible. We're talking about that today. I want to encourage you to be a mourning Joe, either a mourning Joseph or a mourning Josephine, okay, whatever you want. I want to encourage you how to be a mourning Joe, because mourning Joes know something. They know something you and I don't know. And there are 3 mourning Joe points I want to give you right now. And the first mourning Joe point is it's really found in the life of Job, and we'll get to that in a moment. But mourning Joe point number 1 is this. See, they know something we don't know. Mourning Joes know that because of Jesus, when they lose what they want, they gain what they need. Mourning Joes know when they lose what they want, they gain what they need. The life of Job is an Old Testament story. It's a book you can read for yourself. I don't have time to go into all of it, but I will sum it up like this. The guy has the proverbial you-know-what hit the fan. It all goes to pot. I mean, it's just horrible, right? I mean, the guy loses his livestock, his career, his job per se. He loses even his kids. You know, and at this moment, you think he's at the lowest of lows. And at this moment, too, you would hope that people would come in and with encouragement, especially people close to him. But yet, he has his wife come in and says this to him. Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die. Wow, thanks, wife. That's awesome, okay? Way to be there for me in the midst of my pain. Here's a person that, and we've had them too, that come in and they don't know what to say, and they say the wrong thing. This person is really leading with the wrong thing. So, you know, you should be mad at God. Stop trying to be all composed. Be mad at God. You lost everything. Be mad at God. Give God the middle finger and tell him how you feel. Now, again, you go, Chris, that's just horrible. But let me just stop and just be real with you for a second. When we lose stuff, don't you just hate it? You don't enjoy it. It hurts. I've lost things, and I've been, God, I'm mad. And you go, Chris, you shouldn't be mad at God. And friends, I want to say something to you from this perspective. If you are struggling with anger towards God, here's my advice to you. Share it with him. Be mad at him. Whoa, Chris. And here's my why. Because he can handle it. He can handle it. And like a good parent, like a good father, he's going to be there with you as you just lose your you know what. He's going to be there as you just lose it. And he's going to be there just heartbroken with you, just bawling with you. And what I believe he's in my life is waiting for me as I'm like, God, why did you do this? Why did you make this happen? And I feel like so often God's like at the end of me going, Rah! He's like, frustrated too. But are you done now? Will you let me in? Will you let me help? Let me encourage you. Let me hold you. Let me help you. I know for me, after I come to that point of being so angry, I'm just like this. I'm done. Again, it gives new definition to the phrase, the end of me. The end of me is that moment where I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done me trying to do it all. I'm done me having life be a certain expectation. I'm done. I need something else. I need something more. I can't do it anymore. I just can't. And like I said before, when these dark times come, it's horrible. And we hear people give us advice. Oh, just pray about it. You know, think good thoughts, get angry about it, whatever. And we hear all this stuff about Jesus in our life, either through church or reading a Bible ourselves. And we hear about God. But I'm telling you what, it's not till the bad times hit that we actually, I believe, see him. And Job sums it up in Job 42:5. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you, Lord. Now I've seen you. Now it's become real for me. I like how Kyle says this on page 50 in the book. There is a deep void that used to be filled with whatever we lost. Do you know that? That could be stuff or even relationships, none of which are bad things, but when it's gone, it leaves us aching, an aching cavity, and God is there to fill it up with himself if we will allow him to do so. See, mourning Joes know something. They know that because of Jesus, when they lose what they want, they gain what they need. And we see that in the story of Job. You can read for yourself. Mourning Job, point number 2. As we dive into this one, we have a different story, a different person we'll focus on and highlight for just a moment. And that person's going to be Joseph. But really, Joseph, and this guy summed up, he helps with this point here. See, mourning Joes know something that we don't. They know that because of Jesus, when they lose their dreams, they gain God's vision. They gain a bigger vision. Now, in a nutshell, I don't have time to go into all this way, but Joseph he had a large family. He was really a youngin' in that family, and his dad loved him more than any of the other kids. That really is a bad way to start off life, okay? For Joseph, you think that's a great thing. He's got a lot of love. But you see this kind of laid out here in Genesis 37. Now Jacob loved Joseph, this is his dad, loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Well, of course, that's bad parenting. I mean, don't love one kid more than the other kid, okay? Don't do that, all right? And this is the result of it. This Joseph, he actually has a dream early on in life, and the dream is kind of summed up in a way that he has some sort of authority over his brothers. And again, we don't have a lot of dialogue between Joseph and his brothers, but I'm telling you what, if you have this dream, you think you're going to be in a high position someday, and you know your brothers are not going to be, and then dad comes out with a big new coat. Joseph, I got a present. Look at this coat. All right, you get it, buddy. And now the other brothers are, Dad, what about me? Sorry, I hate you all. Okay, I mean, it's really, that's not a good way for Joseph. And Joseph's like, okay, and he's probably just loving it, and again, you go, Chris, he's probably really humble. I mean, Joseph's a pretty good guy, but let's just call it, he's human. So I bet you there's a part of Joseph that put the robe on. Oh, it's a great fit, Dad. Turns to his brothers, I got a coat and you don't, wah, wah, whatever. Well, they don't take kindly to that. And basically what they do is it says here, the brothers came to him, they stripped him of his robe, the robe of many colors that he wore. They threw him in a pit. They tried to kill him. They said, no, let's not kill him. Let's sell him into slavery instead. And that's what happened. He got taken and dragged off from his home and enslaved for years. And if you're Joseph, you're thinking, what did I do wrong? I did nothing wrong. Like, this dream of mine got stripped from me. It's not fair. I shouldn't be in this position. That's what these things do to us when the proverbial, what hits the fan. Back when I was 13 years old, I was my mom and dad, we used to go camping along the Colorado River. And along the beach of the river, we set up horseshoes, okay? Classic. And, and what we do is you get horseshoes, you have the horseshoes, you throw them, try to, put them on one of those little poles in the ground. A pole here and a pole here. And we would play all day long, and then we put the red solo cups on each one at the end of the day, knowing that we're done, and don't, miss the pole. You don't want to get hit by it. Well, we didn't put the red solo cups on one time. And I went running out and frolicking as a 13-year-old in the water. Yay! And all of a sudden, I hit that thing, scraped my shin, okay, right here, boom, a gash this big. It is bad. I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is hurting so bad, it drops me. My cousin, Brian, comes up, he's like, oh my God, he's like, the blood, I can see the bone. And I was like, okay, things to not say to me, like friends, I want you to know, as a pastor, I will walk with you through the biggest hurts of your life ever. I'm wired to do that. But if you bleed on me at all or show me blood, count me out. I'm done, okay? I'm just passed out. I can't handle it. I can't handle the blood. It just gets me. So my cousin's like, there's blood everywhere. Oh my God, the blood, the bone. My mom comes running out. My baby. And she grabs me. She throws me in the car and she drives me over to the ER and brings me in. And it's like something out of a movie. Like, get out of the way. Get out of the way. You think it's something really bad, but it was really bad. It was my shin really hurting. Brings me to the doctor. Yeah, bring him in. Sits me down. Looks at it. And goes, oh yeah. That's definitely going to need stitches right now. Let's get to it right now. And I'm like, yes, thank you so much. And my mom goes, wait, doctor, wait. And I'm like, okay, wow, what's going on? My mom's stepping in. She goes, he's allergic to the pain-killing medicine. You can't give it to him. You just can't. And I was like, oh. Well, two things went through my mind. One, that sucks for me, okay? Second of all, I was like, I didn't know that. And thank God Mom was here to let the doctor know that I could be in serious condition if I'm allergic to this pain medicine. I was like, oh my gosh. And he goes, well, we only have one type of pain medicine here, and that's the one, so he's allergic. So he goes, son, you're going to have to just go ahead and just bear it. Gives me one of those leather straps, you see in the movies. Like, just go ahead and bite on this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I bite on this thing. I had never had stitches before that I can remember. I had them when I was a kid, but never at this moment. Like, I was really young. So I'm like, okay, how could it be? Stab, stab, cinch. Stab, stab, cinch. 13 times. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, come back now, please, and take me home. I was like, done. It was horrible pain, right? And at the end of it, I'm like, my mom, the doctor's, good job, you did good. And my mom's like, come on, sweetie, and she just hold me. I'm like, thanks, Mom. And we walk out of it, and my mom, I just want to say thanks for being here for me. You're so amazing. She's like, okay, sweetie, I love you so much. Just you were there to drive me there, and you bring me, you sat with me, and then you gave that doctor the information. Like, I wouldn't even know that, And I go, and she's like, I know, I love you. And my mom, can you just tell me real quick, like what would it have done to me? Like, how would it have hurt me if I had that pain medicine? She goes, well, I didn't want to say it earlier, but, I can say it now. It makes you hyper. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, it makes you hyper. I didn't want to deal with that, today. So I was like, what? It's like, you just stripped from me my dream of having pain-killing medicine someday, over this, what, that I'm allergic because I might be hyper? And she's like, yeah, so sorry. Hey, let's go get tacos. I'm like, yeah, honey. Wow, anyways, not honey, my mom. So mad. I was so frustrated. I was stripped of just something that day, and it was horrible. And I think about you and I too. We get stripped of these things that we hold on to tightly, and we love them so much, and it hurts like hell, and we end up being in a scene like this. To me, it's like when it's that bad, and we feel like this thing's been stripped from us, and that could be that healthy marriage you dreamed of having, that health report you dreamed of having, your kids being a certain, having a certain relationship with them, having that certain job, that dream that you knew you were going to have, and all of a sudden that dream's out the door now, and you're like, for the first time ever going, what am I going to do with my life? If you're in that spot, I feel like it looks like this, because that's what it does for me, where you're just in a dark, wooded area, unable to see a long way out at all, until God shows up. And then he provides this light, this clarity, this something to walk towards in the midst of the pain and the hurt. And in the midst of walking, we end up finding hope, healing. And I'll be honest, does it happen right away? I think the hope happens right away, but the healing takes time. As I take the steps down a new path I wasn't even thinking about because I experienced the hurt that I thought the spouse was going to be there. I thought the health was going to be there. I thought all these things are going to be there. And you sub whatever you want in your own life. I thought these people were going to be there. These people that love me and I love them. But let's face it, they're people. They're not God. And these people that have hurt you, I'll use that example. Can you just hear me say this? First of all, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But hear me say this too. They're just people. They're just people. And you wish that they had a class they could take, right? A class they could, like, don't be an a-hole class they can go to, right? But they didn't take that class. And they just hurt you. And I'm sorry. But you have a God that will never hurt you, and he'll lead you through it. He was there for Joseph in Genesis 39:21. It says, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love. And I love how it says it multiple times in Joseph's story that the Lord was with Joseph. It was with Joseph. He didn't leave him. He showed him love in the midst of it when people did not. And I also love, too, at the end of the story, of Joseph's story, when all of a sudden God brings him out of the pit at the right time. He went through all this whole slavery thing, and you think, where's God? God's with him. And at the right time, God brings him out of this pit, puts him in leadership, position in Egypt. All of a sudden, Egypt's going through a terrible famine, and just there's no food, there's no resources. But Joseph's gifted with knowing how to plan, how to prepare for it. And all of a sudden, the dream that Joseph believed that God had given him, he didn't understand it clearly until all the loss happened. And then all of a sudden, God replaced that dream with a clear vision. A vision to do something even more important than just have a fancy coat and go, but to be used by God. And have his gifts be used to save multiple lives. And I love when the brothers show up and they see him one day towards the end of all of this. The brothers are like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry what we did to you. We tried to kill you, put you in a pit. We just tried to hurt you, and we're so sorry. And I love how it says basically this. You intended to harm me, but God intended to do for good to accomplish what is now being done and saving the lives of many people. What you intended for harm, God intended for good. God knew what he was doing. He knows how to take a crappy situation and bring some good out of it, not just some good, but a whole lot of good. See, I'm telling you what, Morning Joes know this. They know something we don't know. They know that because of Jesus, when they lose their dreams, they can gain God's vision. Amen? Finally, the last Morning Joe point, number 3. Again, they know something we don't know. And before I get to this one, the previous 2 Morning Joe points come from a certain angle of what's happening on the outside. It's when we experience loss because something out here hit us. This last point experiences this angle, where we experience loss because of something inside that we've chosen, that we have brought about the loss. And we got to own this. And I love how Kyle sums it up on page 54. He says, the first kind of mourning is inspired by devastation from without. The second springs from devastation from within. The sinfulness that wreaks havoc on us, on those we love, and on the world around us. You see, the Morning Joes that we're talking about, they know something. They know that because of Jesus, when they lose their perfection, they gain God's grace. And the last person to overly talk about right now is just David's story. Just a quick high level, David and Bathsheba. And David is an Old Testament character too, the second king of Israel. And this guy, he had a real big problem. I mean, here he is, he's being given the nickname of man after God's own heart, and he loved God. You see his poetry laid out in Psalms. He's a passionate man, but yet he had a big problem with sin. He saw a woman named Bathsheba taking a bath one day and said, I want that woman, bring her over here. Raped this woman, impregnated her, tried to cover it up by killing her husband. Oh, why would he do that? Because that's what happens when we don't mourn this loss. If we don't mourn the internal loss, the sin that we bring upon ourselves and others, it just gets worse. We try to sweep it under the rug, and at first it looks okay until there's a ginormous boulder under that rug. You're like, oh, just pay no attention to that boulder under the rug. It's okay. It's not okay. And this guy, he gets convicted finally by a friend of his, calls him out on it, and he's crushed by it. Couldn't believe what he's done, how he's hurt so many people, and how he's also ultimately hurt God and himself. But yet we also see laid out in all his Psalms is what happens when he confesses a sin. Before I get to that, let me say this. The Bible lays this word sin out, and actually the New Testament has 30 plus other ways of saying the word sin. In our own dictionaries, in the English dictionaries, we've tried to erase this word. There's actually been an attempt to do that. In our culture, we've already seen it being erased, and to be honest, as a preacher, it's even hard for me to even sometimes preach sin too. Because I feel like I don't want to have you feel too guilted, too judged, And what we try to do with sin is we try to use other words like, I made a mistake. I made a bad decision. I made an oopsie. I'm sorry I made an oopsie, I'm sorry for devastating our relationship. Oopsie. I'm sorry for going down that road that just ruined, your life and my life. Oopsie. And we call it no big deal because we don't want to be judged by that. We get enough of that coming from your parents or grandparents or uncle, teacher, whatever, coaches. We don't want any of that. But when we do that, when we push away sin and belittle it to an oopsie, we don't understand what sin looks like. And what I wanted to do, and I decided not to because I didn't want to manipulate you. I just want you to get this. You want to see what sin does? What sin really looks like? Picture in your head Jesus Christ on the cross. Hamburger meat. Just bleeding all over the place. And what sin does, it destroys. And what it specifically destroys is relationship. Sin messes this up, and it messes this up. And if you ever see this not going well in your life, you and God, and this not going well in your life with other people, you can give it a sniff test, sniff that back a little bit, you're going to find some sin that was a part of all that. Either in your life, that person's life, or in a third party. Sin was there. And that's what sin does. And there's a reason why God hates it. Because he loves relationship with you and the ones that you have with each other. He loves them. And his heart is broken the most when they're destroyed. But when we confess our sin, there's a blessing. See, David wrote this in the Psalm 32, and he just lays out his heart when he says this. He said, blessed is the one whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are forgiven, whose sins are covered. Blessed is the one whose sin in the Lord does not count against them, and in whose spirit is no deceit. Twice the word blessed is used, twice the word sin is used. Not being if you sin, you get blessed. Woo woo! Not that way. Oh, I'm sure, and of course, I know sin is fun. I know it is. But the true blessing that David was connecting here is that when we sin and we say, God, I'm going to address this mourning now from the inside. I'm going to mourn how I've broken a relationship with you and those around me with this. I'm going to allow myself to feel it. I'm going to mourn it. I'm going to confess it to you and to those around me, the right people around me. And God, I'm going to mourn this. And he's saying when we do that, you experience a blessing. And what the blessing is, in short, grace. And it goes back to last week's story about the woman who dropped perfume on Jesus' feet. When he says basically those who are forgiven much, love much. And those who don't if you're not allowing yourself to be forgiven for much, well, of course, that explains why you don't love God very much. It makes sense to me. And that's why Jesus says, mourn it. Think about it. So here are some questions for you to end on. Ask yourself this: how have I sinned in the last few days? What else or who else has been hurt by my sin? Besides confessing to God, is there someone else I need to apologize to? Process this: how can I clean up the mess my sin has made? To whom will I confess my sins to? And what excuses and justifications have I just come up with in answering these questions to get myself out of doing it? Kyle addresses that, and I love how he says it that way. It's true. We end up saying, I don't need to do that. It's not that bad. It's an oopsie. It's not a sin. I don't need to say sorry to my kids. I don't need to say sorry to my husband. I don't need to say sorry to my spouse. I don't need to say sorry to my parents, my coworkers. I don't need to say sorry to anyone. This is my life, my thing, and everybody can leave me the hell alone. Friend, who does that sound like? A prideful person? But below that, a hurt person that needs their soul to be comforted by the God of comfort, Christ himself. See, Morning Joes know something. They know that because of Jesus, when they lose their perfection, they gain God's grace. Amen? Let go of your pride. Let go of your hate. Let go of your hurt. And instead, choose to mourn the sin that exists in your life so that God come in and bring the healing you so badly need. Friend, the big point today is we put ourselves in jeopardy when we refuse to mourn the loss in our lives. The challenge I have to you is also very simple. Decide today to be a Mourning Joe, a Mourning Joseph or a Mourning Josephine. By taking the time to mourn today the loss and making space for God to bring the comfort that your soul needs.